7:30 p.m. Halloween 2024. Milton, West Virginia. In exactly 15 seconds, a mother would realize her daughter was missing. In 2 hours, an innocent man would be torn apart by the community. And in 4 hours, the truth would reveal the most devastating mistake that town had ever made. This is a true story. Every second of this night was documented, and what you are about to hear will completely change the way you judge the people around you. Imagine any parent's worst nightmare. You are in a crowded park. Hundreds of people are all around you. You blink, and your child is simply gone, vanished into thin air, as if they never existed. That is exactly what happened to Sarah. Sarah was a 35-year-old mother, caring, protective, and always keeping an eye on her daughter. That Halloween night, she was at April Dawn Park with Lily, her 7-year-old daughter. The girl was radiant, wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt her grandfather had given her and a bright pink tutu she had chosen herself. It was the perfect costume for a child who loved being different. The park was in full celebration. Families were everywhere. Children's laughter echoed through the trees decorated with orange lights. The smell of cotton candy and popcorn filled the air. It was a perfect Halloween celebration. Nothing could go wrong. But Sarah's phone rang. It was her husband, stuck at work, wanting to know how the night was going. A quick conversation, 30 seconds at most. Sarah kept looking at where Lily had been just moments ago. The girl had just run toward a candy stand with her little friends. Sarah hung up the phone. She looked at the stand. Lily's little friends were there, but Lily was not. Sarah felt her heart race. She walked quickly to the group of children and asked where Lily was. The children looked confused. They said she had gone to get her backpack, which she had forgotten on the bench. Sarah ran to the bench. The backpack was there. Lily was not. And it was in that exact moment, in that split second, that absolute terror gripped her. Sarah began screaming her daughter's name. Lily, Lily. Her voice ripped through the festive night like an emergency siren. Other parents noticed immediately. This was no ordinary scream. It was the scream of a mother who had just lost her child. Within seconds, dozens of people began searching. Lily, has anyone seen a girl in a pink tutu? Lily. But no one answered. No one knew. And with each passing second, the panic multiplied. What Sarah did not know at the time was that her daughter would not be the only victim that night. A completely innocent man was about to have his life destroyed by the fury of a community desperate for answers. But no one imagined that within minutes, one man would be singled out as the prime suspect, and the story you are about to hear will show how hasty judgments can destroy innocent lives. 15 minutes had passed since Lily's disappearance. Sheriff Morrison, a veteran and experienced man in his 50s, arrived at the park with his team. Sarah was completely distraught when the sheriff approached. Sheriff Morrison asked how much time had passed. Sarah replied with a shaky voice that it had been 15 minutes and that Lily was there. She swore she was there. It was at that moment that a figure approached the group. Marcus Donnelly, a 42-year-old man known in the community for being reserved and solitary. He lived in a simple house near the park. Marcus hesitantly said that he had seen a girl in a pink tutu. She had walked toward the trail near the park. Sheriff Morrison immediately questioned Marcus. He asked what he was doing in the park. Marcus explained he was just observing. He said he liked seeing happy families. His voice broke when he mentioned he had a daughter. But before Marcus could finish explaining, murmurs began. A mother in the group commented that she always thought he was different. A father said Marcus would sit on the bench watching the park activity. Suspicions quickly grew. What no one knew at the time was that Marcus was hiding a painful secret. A secret that would explain all his behavior. But it would be too late when the truth came out. The crowd was beginning to turn against Marcus. But did he really have something to hide? Or was he just another victim of rash judgments? Marcus was taken to the police station. In the investigation room, Sheriff Morrison and Detective Chen, a 38-year-old woman who was more measured and analytical, began the interrogation. The sheriff asked where exactly Marcus was at 7:30 p.m. Marcus replied that he was on the bench near the fountain. He explained that he always sat there on Halloween because it was the only day the town felt alive again. Detective Chen mentioned that they had found records on Marcus. There had been a legal dispute from 10 years ago. Marcus was visibly emotional. He explained that the case had been dismissed. He said his ex-wife had used that information to gain custody of their daughter. Marcus emphasized that he would never hurt anyone. Meanwhile, outside the room, worried parents gathered. Social media was buzzing with speculation. Marcus's name was spreading rapidly. The search for Lily continued intensely. Teams with flashlights scoured the entire area near the park. The temperature was dropping. Sarah was being comforted by neighbors, but the anguish was visible on her face. Suddenly, a volunteer shouted that he had found something. Everyone rushed to him. It was a piece of pink fabric, a piece of Lily's tutu. The sheriff looked at Marcus through the window of the parked police car. The crowd grew even more restless. With legal authorization, officers went to Marcus's house to conduct an inspection. The house was old but tidy. The walls were covered with old children's drawings. There were photos of a girl everywhere. In the middle of the living room table sat a half-eaten birthday cake with candles that had never been lit. An officer called the sheriff to look at something in the bedroom. There was a telescope pointed at the park. Beside it, a notebook filled with notes about special moments, dates and nostalgic descriptions of families playing in the park. Sheriff Morrison told the team they needed to analyze everything carefully. But Detective Chen, ever more cautious, suggested that perhaps it was just a lonely father trying to remember his own daughter. The evidence against Marcus seemed to be piling up. But something did not add up. Something Detective Chen was about to discover. Back at the police station, Marcus was emotionally shaken. News was spreading quickly. Television stations were reporting on the disappearance investigation in Milton. Sarah watched the news at home, hopeful but utterly anguished. In the interrogation room, Marcus finally revealed his secret. His voice was shaky as he spoke about Emma, his daughter. She had passed away 5 years ago from a serious illness. Marcus explained that he went to the park because it reminded him of when Emma was happy. With tears in his eyes, he shouted that he just wanted to help. It was 10:30 p.m. Detective Chen was reviewing all the details of the case at her desk. Something did not make sense. She was carefully studying a map of the area. Talking to herself, the detective noticed the inconsistency. Marcus had said he saw Lily heading toward the trail, but the piece of fabric was found in the completely opposite direction. It made no sense at all. Detective Chen had a revelation. She immediately picked up the radio and notified all units. She asked them to expand the search to the east side of the park. There was an old abandoned structure in that direction that no one had yet checked. The race against time was just beginning. Was Lily in real danger, and would Marcus be exonerated in time? The teams quickly reached the old structure covered in vegetation. The building had been abandoned for years. When they entered, they found something that lifted everyone's spirits. Lily was there, sleeping, wrapped in an old tarp. She was cold but completely unharmed. Lily woke up drowsy and confused, asking for her mommy. Detective Chen, visibly emotional, radioed that they had found the girl and that she was safe. The news spread instantly. At the police station, Sheriff Morrison received the call. He looked at Marcus, who was sitting in a waiting room, completely exhausted. The sheriff realized in that moment the terrible mistake they had almost made. Lily was rushed to the hospital. It was 11:45 p.m. Sarah hugged her daughter, crying profusely with relief. The doctors ran all the necessary tests and confirmed that Lily was perfectly fine. The doctor explained to Sarah what had happened. Lily had simply gotten lost, chasing a small animal. Cold, she entered the abandoned structure and eventually fell asleep. She was very lucky to have been found in time. Detective Chen entered the hospital room and told Sarah they needed to talk about Marcus Donnelly. Sarah fell silent, beginning to understand the gravity of what had happened. Marcus had been wrongly accused. But how would the community react when they discovered the truth? Had the damage already been done? The next morning, the sun rose over Milton. Marcus was released from the police station. News cameras captured everything. He left completely exhausted, emotionally shaken by everything he had been through. Sarah was waiting outside. The crowd, which had been upset before, was now silent. Sarah approached Marcus, her eyes brimming with tears. She said she was sorry, that she had misjudged him, that everyone had misjudged him. Marcus responded with emotion in his voice that Sarah was only protecting her daughter. that he understood perfectly. But Sarah insisted it was not right, that Marcus was trying to help, and they had unfairly damaged his reputation. Lily got out of the car, holding her mother's hand. The girl ran to Marcus and thanked him for trying to find her. Marcus knelt down, deeply touched. He told Lily that she reminded him of his Emma, and that he was so glad she was okay. 1 week passed. Marcus was sitting on his usual bench in April Dawn Park. But now everything was different. People waved to him respectfully. A mother allowed her son to hand Marcus a drawing. Sarah approached with coffee. Sarah explained that the community was organizing a fundraiser. They wanted to create a fund in memory of Emma, Marcus's daughter. The goal was to help families with sick loved ones. Marcus was deeply moved. He said Emma would have really liked that idea. Families played peacefully in the park. Marcus smiled. It was a genuine smile, something he had not done in many years. Marcus Donnelly's story teaches a powerful lesson for all of us. Sometimes those we imagine as threats are merely reflections of our own fears. Marcus was not the antagonist that Halloween night. He was simply a lonely father trying to keep alive the memory of his greatest love. The Milton community learned that true justice requires much more than just suspicion. It requires truth. It requires empathy. It requires that we look beyond appearances and our prejudices. Lily was found safe. Marcus was exonerated. And an entire community learned a valuable lesson about rash judgments and redemption. This is a true story that took place in Milton, West Virginia, on Halloween in 2024. The characters in some circumstances have been dramatized for narrative and educational purposes, but the essence remains: a missing child, a man wrongly accused, and an ending that restored faith in humanity. The next time you judge someone by their appearance or by hearsay, remember Marcus Donnelly. Remember that behind every person lies a story, a pain, a loss, and that everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt before being condemned by the court of public opinion.